Galimera, Galispera, Galinichta. Once again, the Drive Time show continues. We've given you Jordan Jarrett Bryant from Channel 4 and TalkSport, and of course his new podcast, Not for Clicks. Amy Lawrence just wrapped up the inaugural episode of From Highbury to the Grove with Magic Mike. And now we have one of your favourites back, Mr. James Green from Sky Sports. Don't say we don't do nice things for you kids. Here we go.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Hello, squaddies. Welcome back to Squad Central. Well, it has been a whopper of a Monday. This is how you start off the week, of course, with fantastic guests. And one of your favourites is back, Mr. James Green from Sky Sports. Welcome back to Squad Central.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be back.
Brilliant stuff. We're delighted that you're back. And it's been quite an epic day here. And we've spoken a few times and excited for this chat because there's two players in particular that I want to dissect with you. You can follow James here, James Green in UK. Be sure to give him a follow. A massive result at the weekend. Before I get stuck into my top 5 talking points with you, James, your assessment of the game against Brentford, real quick.
Assessment, and probably the quickest way to assess it is that it was the perfect, and I mean 100% perfect, warm-up to tomorrow night against Porto. I don't think Mikel Arteta could have picked a more perfect game, actually, than that, because Brentford did exactly what Porto did in the first leg. They slowed up play. I think the ball was in play for about 49 minutes the whole game. So the players are pretty fresh. They're not too tired. It was stop-start. It was frustrating. They had to buy their time. They had to be patient. They had to do everything that they're probably going to have to do tomorrow night. And I was so pleased with the way they responded to that. They kept calm. I never felt like the goal wasn't going to come. It felt like they were not forcing anything. They weren't forcing the issue. They were sticking to their game plan, sticking to their guns. They didn't get agitated like they probably did a little bit in Porto in that first leg. And they kept their cool and come off the man, come off the hour, come off Kai Havertz, scoring a big goal yet again for us. So, yeah, really pleased. And the winning run at the moment is fantastic, keeps the momentum going, and now all the build-up comes to tomorrow night.
Massive game for the Arsenal tomorrow night. You're not wrong there, James. Thank you, by the way, to everyone listening on our audio platforms and those listening on replay as well. Big shows coming at you today. James is here. In particular, I wanted to talk to James about 2 players. We're going to save Kai for last, save the best till last, because I know James has a few choice words that he wants to share about that. But a player that I think has been fascinating post-Dubai is Benjamin White. And prior to Dubai, he wasn't particularly having a great season, James. And maybe that had a lot to do with, maybe, I don't know, was it pressure? Was it Zinchenko? Was it what he was being asked to do on the right versus with Zinchenko being out? And what he gives us on the left. He's been playing this pseudo inverted role. He scored, I think, 2 goals, 4 assists, 2 assists in the game against Brentford. What do you think has been the core of the evolution of Benjamin White?
Confidence for me. Confidence in playing in a team that is doing so well. And I think Ben White's the kind of character that when confidence around him is high, he builds himself into that, and he feels like he's not the kind of player. I don't see him as the kind of player that when the chips are down, he's going to be the one that really is going to step up and lead from the front at all. And that might sound quite negative, but I just think that's where he can get in his head sometimes. And I see that on the pitch at times when he's struggling, his body language changes quite a bit. But at the moment, he just looks really confident, really clear in what the manager's asking him to do, and we're starting to see that come to fruition. But the most important aspect, we can talk about the goals and the assists, but most importantly is his defending. And to me, his defending, certainly since the turn of the year, has been excellent. I don't recall anyone getting the better of him, which maybe at the start of the season, that's probably not what I would be saying, because I think a few players certainly had their way with him on that right-hand side. But he's really settled now, in that. I think we've got settled back four, haven't we, really, with Saliba, Gabriel and Jakub Kiwior coming in too. I think Jakub Kiwior coming in and knowing that he's not going to be the one pushing into midfield, so it gives Ben White maybe a little bit more freedom. I think that helps. That helps his confidence. And he's thriving right now. And he's one of them characters I just really want him to do well. He's definitely got some complexities about him, but when he's focused on the job he needs to do, when he's clear in his mind, we see the best of Ben White. And I think right now we're seeing it. And when he does come into the midfield in that inverted position, he's not doing too much. And I think that's really clear. He's not Zinchenko. He hasn't got the ability on the ball of a Zinchenko, but he plays within his parameters. And that's crucial. And that's all we need. And that's what Arsenal need from all their players. Play within your means. That's all we need. You do your job. Everybody else is dotted around to do their job. And collectively, it all comes together. And I think that's showing immensely in Ben White. When he comes in, he doesn't come in as often, by the way, recently. We talk so much about this inverted fullback, but actually he isn't playing inside that often. That's why he's having the joy around the outside and then getting those assists as we've seen in the last couple of weeks. I think they're starting to learn that, and Mick Arteta's starting to learn and evolve that it's fine coming inside sometimes, but there's also still a real strength of having your fullback overlapping on that right-hand side, particularly when you've got someone as smart and clever like Bukayo Saka, and you've got Martin Odegaard always playing on that right-hand side. There's a lot of joy to be had, and I think it's pretty clear that he doesn't want that to stop by telling Ben White to come inside all the time. And I think he's just getting the balance absolutely spot on, and we're certainly seeing it in his performances.
It's interesting you mentioned the back line, and it's kind of old school Arsenal. It seems like every player is elevated by one another. And Saliba and Gabriel, and what as well, what I love is, back in the day, there were so many Arsenal players who'd have a bad game on the same day. It's like if Saliba has a bit of a dodgy one, Gabriel's there having an absolute corker, and vice versa. And Benjamin White has always been their kind of wingman, if you like. What do you do? How do you think? To me, attitude is everything. I've been talking a lot about mental on this show. I was just talking to BBC Radio London about mental stability, continuity, and also a bit of dark arts and shithousery as well, James. And this back line seems to have an intimidation factor that we haven't seen in years. And I will take every opportunity I have to put this picture up because I absolutely love it. And Super Kevin Campbell has talked a lot on this show about beating teams in the tunnel. And I've equated it to Tiger Woods would beat people on the first tee. There's just this intimidation factor there. He comes with that pedigree. We don't have the pedigree of winning trophies, major trophies yet, but we're certainly building a pedigree of attitude. And Benjamin White, to me, personifies that. How much do you think playing alongside those guys has helped him, improved him, and how they all complement each other?
Yeah, completely agree. That image, you should just keep putting it up continuously. Oh, it's a thing of beauty, isn't it?
It's just great, isn't it?
I'm staring at it all day. I love that shot. That was a brilliant shot, and it's been a long while since Arsenal fans have been able to look in the tunnel, look at their team and go, yeah, they need me business. We've got those players. They're on our team. Not looking at the opposition going, oh my goodness me, look who they've got. Because that's what it's been like for, 18 years pretty much, really. And we're at a stage now where it's the other way around, and I love it so much. Look, I think what's key with those four in particular, and we'll include David Raya in that too. They've all got their strengths, they've all got their personalities, and they're all very different. And their role in the team is very different. You know, Gabriel's developed a lot as a defender where, 2 years ago, he was a liability at times. He would lunge in a lot. He would go to ground so often and you'd be scratching your head going, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? You don't need to. And he's learned and developed that he doesn't need to actually, because he's smart, he's intelligent, he's quick, he reads the game really well, he's very physical, but he's very good on the ball as well. He's good at playing out from the back, and that works really well. You've got Saliba. We know his strength. Again, his football intelligence is second to none. He reads the games, better than even Gabriel. He reads the game so well, plays the ball out from the back. He never looks like he's rushed. I feel like with Ben White, you've got a complete mixture of the two. I don't necessarily see him as someone who's composed on the ball, Ben White. I think when he gets the ball and maybe sometimes he has a little bit too much, or he's put under a bit of pressure and he's rushed a little bit, I think sometimes you see him struggle, and we've seen him give the ball away at times in those positions, maybe trying to overthink, trying to do too much. But he's simplified his play so much more, and he's able to adapt his style. And I think that's been key. I think he's been trying in the past maybe to play a certain way that he maybe believes the side needs. But now he's going, you know what? No, my team needs me. If I've got the ball and I'm under pressure, I'm going to take a touch, I'm going to pass it. But if I've got time on the ball, you'll be able to see, actually, I do have the ability. And we saw that with that beautiful, the cross for Declan Rice's header, I thought was just, it was just a thing of beauty. If that was Erdegaard, we'd be purring about it, wouldn't we? And it was a beautiful cross. But I love the fact that with Benjamin White, as you mentioned, he's got that dark art element to his game. He will pick up yellow cards here and there, but we need that. And the team needs a player like that at times who knows what to do, who, kicks the ball away at times to stop a fast break, or nudges it out the way, or just kind of pulls a shirt. We see what he does in the box. He just irritates teams time and time again. And he just complements the team. He's just different to any of the players we've got in the squad. And that's what I love about it. We are seeing now the Ben White that we always wanted, but maybe we weren't sure whether we were going to see it, because ultimately, remember, he was bought as a centre-back. He was not bought as a right-back. And maybe we forget that sometimes, that this is a player that's had to learn a new position. And we probably set standards a lot higher because he's an Arsenal right back, but ultimately he's a player still learning, still developing in that position. But I think this season we're finally seeing those benefits being rewarded, and I love to see it. He's a great player and he's a bit of a fan favourite, isn't he?
Yeah, it's a great point that you bring up about the fact that he was brought in as a centre back. Of course, at Brighton, we saw him even play midfield, and it seems that he's really developed into this role. When you talk about growth, that's why I wanted to talk about the evolution of him. Early on, Mikel Arteta was heavily criticised for not improving players. I think he's totally busted that myth, because it feels like over the last, I would say even the season where we failed to qualify for the Champions League, to the improbable run last year to this year, we've seen player improvement across the board. And I've moved on from the question on the conversation of, is Benjamin White the best right back in England? I'm now starting to ask the question, is he the best right back in Europe? And there's a caveat, there's a juxtaposition maybe for some Arsenal fans who support England. Arsenal fans who don't support England could give a rat's bottom about whether or not he plays or Gareth Southgate picks him. England fans desperately want Benjamin White in the England team. Opposing fans who support England think it's kind of crazy. Now, what happened in Qatar stays in Qatar. Jordan, Jarrett Bryan, earlier on the show was talking about how he has this kind of attitude of, he loves to play football, but after that, he doesn't really care to watch football. He of course, when he's in training, he watches film, he talks to the assistant coaches, they work one-on-one with players. And maybe Gareth Southgate's expectations are a little bit different. is he firstly, is he to you, if he's not the best right back, is he getting close? And secondly, is Gareth Southgate absolutely mental not picking him?
It's really tough questions, actually. Is he the best? Look, come on, he's improving, and I think you picked up on a really good point about Mikel Arteta. And I think, again, if we look back over recent years and the not so good and positive times that we've had as Arsenal fans, one of the key reasons has been is because players have been brought into the club and they're not improving, and it happened time and time again. Not only did that cause us problem on the pitch, it causes us problems off the pitch as well, because all of a sudden we're spending money on players and we're no way going to be recouping any transfer value from them. And we've seen, in recent years, our dreadful transfer activity where we've been selling players for next to nothing, really, because they've not been improving. And that's completely changed now and transformed, and Mikel Arteta's doing a brilliant job at that. And look, Ben White, I think we've just got to me, just enjoy his progression. He's still young. He's still got a lot to improve and work on. I'm not going to sit here and say he's the best right back in Europe at all, but he's definitely getting better. Is Gareth Southgate mad? Look, first of all, I'm a huge Gareth Southgate fan. You can judge me all you like, because most people do when I support Gareth Southgate and everything he does. Whatever happened in Qatar, we still don't officially know what happened in Qatar. The thing with England is there are a lot of right backs. There's Kyle Walker, who to me is still the best in this country, and he should be the starting right back for England at the Euros. I don't think Ben White is at his level yet. Do I believe he could be? Absolutely. But I think Kyle Walker's still up there. And then you've got the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold, Kieran Trippier. Now, again, I'm not putting them in the same bracket because it's fair to say this season Ben White's been better than those two, really. Defensively in particular, it's much, much better. So, look, I think there's a long way to go. I think as an England fan and an Arsenal fan, seeing Ben White week in, week out, I'd love to see him part of the England squad. I think the realism is he won't be. Is that a bad thing for England? For England, it might be. For Arsenal, is it a bad thing? Not necessarily. Gives them a nice break, building up to a new season, which I don't think goes amiss. But let's see. You never know. Things can change in football. And
they can. Do you think he wants to play for England? Some players just have this mad desire. Like David Beckham, I think, was a player who loved playing for his country more than his clubs even. Players like John Terry, Frank Lampard, they love playing for England. I think Saka loves playing for England, and he knows he plays a huge part. Demsek, one of our listeners, was saying that, conspiracy theories or thoughts that he just doesn't want to go and sit on the bench. And I think definitely he's more of Ben White is a deep, I think, thinking guy. I believe that everything he does has to have a purpose. And if there's no purpose, if he's not going to play and he's just going to be making up numbers, he just doesn't want to do it. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Maybe some people think it is. I don't think it is. But I don't believe that when he wakes up in the morning, his dream is to go and put on an England shirt. I believe that he just loves playing for the Arsenal, feels totally embraced there, knows he has a huge part to play. Do you think there's any truth to the fact that maybe he just doesn't care? I'm not saying he's apathetic. Maybe he is. Does he? Does he really want to play for England?
I think, first of all, we haven't heard from him. We don't know. So we are speculating. I think that's quite a key point at the moment. I think whenever Ben White does an interview, I think certainly people in my industry, journalists, reporters, they kind of tread the line with England with him, because it is a subject that we're still not sure really what happened in Qatar. Where's it going to develop? So I expect the next interview he does do, though, there'll be questions about that asked to him. I'll be interested to see. I probably don't think he's that guy like a Beckham who was desperate to play for England and England was everything he wanted to do. I don't think he's like that. A lot's been made of Ben White not liking football, etc. But actually, he's spoken afterwards and said, look, he still watches football. He just isn't totally consumed in football like maybe a lot of the other players are. I think that's the difference. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. But look, the England situation, I kind of I would disagree with you on the fact of you can't blame someone for sitting on the bench. Well, actually, you've represented your country, and you never know what can happen in a major tournament. Injuries happen all the time, suspensions, injuries. All of a sudden, you're thrusted into the starting lineup in potentially a European quarterfinal or semi-final. You've always got to be ready, and that's kind of the part of being a squad player with your country. And I think it's an important role, actually, and a role that players need to really invest in, and that's what a lot of players want to do, because you never know when your time's going to come where you're going to be potentially the hero, and that can come. You know, if England go on to win the Euros and something happen, a couple of right backs get injured or something in the semi-final, or suspension or whatever it might be, and then all of a sudden Ben White starting for England in the Euro final, England win the final, win our first European Championship, second major trophy, all of a sudden Ben White is a national hero, and that should, you would expect, mean a lot. So it'd be interesting to see what he says. I wouldn't necessarily, I'm still not going to go on the Gareth Southgate bandwagon that everybody likes to jump on with the usual suspects like Maguire, etc. You can't, and also when we're talking about like Maguire over White and stuff like that, Ben White is predominantly playing, he's playing as a right back. He's not played centre back. He's not played centre back for years. So let's just try and maybe move away from that. I'm not saying he couldn't do it, and I'm not saying he couldn't do it better than Maguire. I'm just saying he hasn't played there for years, and that's all. And on Harry Maguire, look, for me, he's never let England down, and that's all I care about. Shoot me all you like.
You know what? Fair dues. It's true. And to be able to perform the way he has, considering the hellacious time he's had at Manchester United, is really a testament to his mental strength. Speaking of a player who is really doing it right now, and I know you can't wait to talk about this, the resurrection of Kai Havertz. I'm not even sure if he was dead to begin with, James, but my goodness, it has been a massive turnaround and a huge, huge reason why there's so many W's right here, courtesy of BBC Sport, this picture. Win, there's 8. He scored 4 in 4. His transformation has been nothing short of sensational. Came to Arsenal. That Chelsea stigma, I think, got Arsenal fans all rattled, suffering from PTSD of other signings. Same thing with Jorginho, actually. How about that 12 million we spent on him? Hey, hello, can't hear you now. Oops, I told people not to do that earlier on in the show, so I can't be a hypocrite. I will not do that to you either. Let's talk about Kai Havertz. One of the reasons you tweeted me, Tom and Harry, in the last game, bigging up how you've backed him up from the get-go. Let's start off with why, when he received so much criticism. We've always loved him here at Squad Central with Super Kevin Campbell, and Super Kevin Campbell told fans, be patient until the player wears the Arsenal shirt, gets his feet under the table. You've got to give him the chance and the opportunity to show that he can deliver the goods. The price tag, of course, so many people thought he was a waste of money. And, he was at a dead Chelsea team, a broken Chelsea team, a broken culture, a broken system, and a lot of turnaround. And I think Kai Havertz is definitely the type of player that likes, not a creature. Players are creatures of habit. When something changes, they don't really like that. Why? When he was at the depths of playing poorly, missing chances, what did you see that always made you believe in Kai Havertz?
By the way, I don't always tweet if I'm right about something. It just happens so rarely. So I thought I had to do it to multiple channels to let everybody know that I thought I was right from the off, and patience is what I said. And look, for me, it was about watching a player. And by the way, it's about separating the price tag, because the price tag is sticking in everybody's heads. It's sticking in the heads of fans. It's sticking in the head of opposition fans, media outlets, you name it. They're all bringing it up. I mean, people are still talking, saying that they don't think Kai Havertz has been worth it, even though he's just scored, 4 in 4. 7 of his last 15 games, transforming Arsenal as he is right now. He's having a huge impact on us. But for me, it was about watching a player develop. It was about watching a player improve. And we spoke earlier about players improving under Mikel Arteta. Okay, well, let's watch a player that, came to the club low on confidence after the ending at Chelsea, how it was. He had obviously won them a Champions League final. Then they had a really disappointing year that followed that. And then he comes to Arsenal, maybe an expectation, maybe a lot of fans unsure whether that was the right signing. All the talk about a striker, we need a striker, not a Kai Havertz, etc. But for me, it was about watching game in, game out. What was he doing? What was he learning? How he was connecting to his teammates. And what I was seeing was he was learning to take up positions where, okay, there was certainly the early part of the season where his teammates weren't finding him. He was struggling to just get in the right positions to have an impact on the game. We could see that. His confidence in front of goal was still hanging over him from Chelsea. We could see that as well. But what he was doing, he was slowly impacting games more and more. He was taking so many players away and creating spaces for others. Now, for many, they'll go, hold on a minute, you're paying £65 million for somebody to move into space and take away defenders. But you're paying because of the intelligence he has to create space for people like Ødegaard, Jesus, Saka, Martinelli, etc., to excel in. Declan Rice, as we're seeing in recent weeks. But then what we've seen the progression where he started to be brought into the attack more, getting more touches on the ball, becoming a big influence in the build-up play. And then now he's been moved into this false nine position. Now, for me, him as a false nine is, I personally think, and this is not 100%, but I personally think this is where Mikel Arteta ultimately saw Havertz playing for Arsenal. Now, that didn't mean he was going to start every single game there, but I think he saw him as an alternative. He needed something different. And again, I've probably spoke about this before, that last season we were so not easy to play against, but it was very obvious what we were going to do week in, week out. We knew exactly the starting 11 week in, week out. He needed to vary it up a bit. Havertz brings that. Having a false nine like Kai Havertz, having somebody who's, 6'3", great in the air, by the way, which is a really underestimated part of his game. He's got the physicality on the pitch. His pressing ability is underrated as well. I think people don't really realize how quick he is. He's really fast over the first 10, 15 yards, and he makes a real big difference. So I saw him grow. I saw the opportunity slowly come to him. I saw his teammates embrace him more. And we're really seeing that come to fruition now. And all it is just having a bit of patience. Things don't happen overnight. We should never expect things to happen overnight, because that's just not how it works. But we have belief, we have patience in what's happening. And look what's happened since the start of 2024. I haven't heard Arsenal fans talking about striker, which is unbelievable, by the way. For 2 months and counting, no striker talk. It's been amazing. Been unbelievable. Yet for 4 months before that, that's all we heard. And I'm glad it's ended for now. I'm not saying that might be a way that we look to develop the squad in summer, because I'm certain that's exactly what I'll look to do. But he deserves a lot of respect on his name, I think.
Over 200 of you in live chat. That's a total of, I don't know, maybe 1,600 over the course of 3 shows today. It's brilliant stuff. Thank you all for tuning in and making us part of your day. I've put this comment up from Matthew. He was also doing the dark arts and breaking up opponents. That's what I noticed. And you touched on it, the dirty work. And I've talked a lot about his physicality and how he is. Someone mentioned Alan Smith in the chat a minute ago. But there's this physicality to Arsenal when you think about what we've had and where we've come from. And look, it's not a slight on Sokratis Babastadopoulos. I haven't said that in a long time. I wanted to say it out loud. Or Dinos Mavropanos. There you go. There's another one for you. Or Koscielny, Marlon. You know, these players. Bellerin, now you've got Saliba, you've got Gabriel, you've got Declan Rice, you've got Kai Havertz. It's so beautiful to see. It's like we've been craving this for so long. His physicality is a massive part. That header, the way he won it, it was a beautiful cross. But the fact that he can bully opponents, and I believe And it's funny because Tom Canton was in our previous chat asking about Jesus now, and with Martinelli being injured, is Jesus best suited to come in as that left flank player? You want to keep Kai up front. I think a lot of Arsenal fans want him to stay in that position. Why change something that isn't broken? But you know, right now for me, Jesus has to be patient to come back in, or something has to go terribly wrong for him not to start in that position. But the physicality part, I think, is massive, James. Absolutely, especially in the Premier League for this last run in here. Talk to me a little bit about that physical part that has been building season after season under Mikel Arteta. Not only does he like a hybrid, versatile player, and the DNA and profile of these players has evolved greatly, but the physical part, I think, is really a major difference. And Kai Havertz is leading that right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I did see Tom pop in the chat there and say that I do WhatsApp him all my points when I'm right. He is true. It is true. I'm humble. I don't want to go too big because then people just think I'm an absolute muppet, which is also true as well. Look, the physicality.
Tom loves to be right too. He's gonna let you have it. If you say something, you got to show major paperwork to back up what you're saying. That's all I'm saying about Mr. Canton.
He's probably got them all stored and saved anyway, to be honest with you. He's lucky I talked to him. He hasn't got many friends as Tom. Look, the physicality, Sophie, look, you're absolutely right. But all I'd go back is look at Mikel Arteta. First of all, as a player, what sort of player was he? Physical. He loved getting stuck in. He loved that element of the game. Where did he learn his coaching? At Manchester City. What's been Pep's and Manchester City's success? It's not just their ball playing. If you look at some of the physical players that they've had amongst their time in the Premier League and their success in recent seasons, you'd always see them lined up. And I remember when they used to always play against Arsenal, and I used to look and go, my God, not only are they brilliant on the ball, they are physically imposing players. And it used to always feel like they dwarfed us, right? If you think about who we'd have on that front line, even like Aubameyang might have been tall, but he was not very physical, was he? He could get bullied out of games. And then you've got like Saka and Martinelli and an Ødegaard dotting in there, and all of a sudden, you haven't got too much. Take away the height in midfield that now Declan Rice has added to our game, and then now we've got fullbacks that are stronger and more physical as well. All of a sudden, you're looking and going, well, hold on a minute. That's why we're having that image in the tunnel of these defenders and these tall players lined up next to each other. And this has been a real progress for Mikel Arteta. This is something he's wanted, and you can see clearly that that's something he developed and learned at Manchester City. It's something he needed and wanted at Arsenal. You can see that what was happening at Arsenal, that so often they're being accused of being bullied. You could bully Arsenal. Teams that didn't have necessarily the quality of Arsenal on the ground, but they had the physicality, were bullying Arsenal. Your likes of Brentford, as we saw on the weekend, in the past, they were bullying Arsenal and they were causing so many problems. But that's changed now. And again, if you look at, say, a Kivior, you look at Gabriel, you look at Saliba, Ben White, then you've got Declan Rice in the middle, or Kai Havertz, even throwing a Gabriel Jesus, who's a very physically imposing player. He might not have the height and stature, but he throws his weight around. I think it makes such a difference. And I think Declan Rice, so you've got him there, but honestly, when you stand next to Declan Rice, he's really tall. He's so much taller than I think we all maybe think he is, but he is. He's very physically imposing, and that's then led to us having not only the strength that we've had from set pieces going forward, but also defending. I feel like we a little bit more compact, got that height at the back that we should be dealing with corners and set pieces better. Okay, we've had certain phases earlier on in the season where that seemed to elude us somewhat, but the physical presence is there, and the likes of Kai Havertz, Declan Rice, they've been brought in for a reason, and that is part of the reason why they're in. So, yeah, it's definitely an evolution of this Arsenal side, and one that I am all for.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. I love the fact that, we've gotten physical. We've got players that can do that. I love this picture. some people, the all or nothing thing really kind of changed a lot of perceptions about Mikel Arteta in particular. And how we've gone from maybe having apathetic players to players who are just so passionate and want to win. We saw it with Aaron Ramsdale when he came into the dressing room and was, doing his thing. Ben White shaking the camera. But Mikel Arteta used the Ivan Toney thing as, some bait with his own players. And to see Gabriel just not relent and be physical with someone like Tony, who tried or did take the piss out of us really last season, to come back against Brentford in a game that we felt like we were robbed. We have this revenge factor about us this season, and we've seen it across multiple games, James. And when we talk about a team becoming the image of their manager, I think that Mikel Arteta needs a lot of credit for doing that. There's vengeance and there's justice, and then there's vengeance. And I think, maybe it's not a case of vengeance, revenge. Maybe it's a case of justice, making it right. And there's this underlying tone for me, especially where I feel like he's trying to make it right for the fans as well as the players, but also himself. And yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like reading the comments, Soph, to be honest.
They're brilliant, aren't they? I tried to put them all up. Tell me which one got your attention.
6'1". Then maybe I'm a lot smaller than I think I am. So that was quite funny from Chad. But then Adam, what have you been smoking this evening? Everybody's blaming Ramsdale, but what was Gabriel doing passing to Ramsdale? Stop it, Adam. That's how we play. Ramsdale.
Everybody placing all the blame on Ramsdale for Brentford's equaliser. Need to ask one question. What was Gabriel? No, that was... Listen, I love Rambo. That's an unforced error. That is absolutely his fault. There is no defending that. I can't even defend that. And I've been one of his lawyers this season.
Yes, you have. And I look, I love Aaron Ramsdale, as you know as well. But you can't blame Gabriel. But what I love, and you just showed that image with Gabriel and Tony. Now, 2 years ago, Gabriel against Tony on Saturday, Gabriel would have got sent off. He would have got sent off, or he would have given away a penalty or a stupid free kick in a dangerous place, because he would have lost his head. He wouldn't have been able to keep the physical presence, keep that anger, but also keep his composure. And that's where he's developed. And again, you've got to look at Mikel Arteta. You've got to look at the coaching staff and how they're not just developing their ability on the pitch. They're developing their mentality. And this is the key change. And we're talking about, improving players and players getting better. But we've got to look at all aspects of the pitch. To close the gap on Manchester City is so damn tough. They are the best team, in my opinion, the best team that's ever played in the Premier League. The run they went on last season to defeat us was just simply astonishing. And to close that gap is very, very tough. But Mikel Arteta is looking at every single aspect of that team in order to improve it, that one tiny percent. And if it's a point here and a point there, that's exactly how he did it. We spoke before. That's why Raya's there. But Gabriel, his mentality shift, and everybody else is shifting as well and developing and getting better. They're not being lured into stupid mistakes, and they're not being lured into getting frustrated and wound up by players like Ivan Toney, who that's part of their game. They're there to do it. You're going to face Ivan Toney's all season long, but it's how you respond to it and how you react to it. And I was so proud, actually, of seeing how Gabriel did stand up to him, but do it in the right way, so that there was never any chance of or danger of him being sent off. And I don't know about you, Soph, but watching it, I never felt like, and watching him this season, I've never once felt like he's out of control or he's going to lose his head at all.
Yeah, I agree with that. There were question marks last season. And I think you mentioned confidence, and that had a lot to do with it. And, Saliba was getting all of the plaudits, and rightly so. Gabriel just felt that pressure a little bit. But again, mentally, to be able to overcome that adversity is massive for a player like him. And I just want to put this up from Neil Gunner, because this might have a lot to do with how we're handling our mental. And some people have come and said, Arsenal got to be careful. The commentator here, I don't know if it was John Champion or I think it was John Champion, Arsenal need to be careful about getting stuck. Maybe it was the color commentator getting stuck into these duels, with players. And I think the way we're unafraid to put pressure on the ref, just right. The way we kind of get in opposition faces, just right. The way our manager now is handling himself on the sideline, just right. Last year, we were very emotional, and Mikel talked a lot about being emotional. And I don't think that's such a great thing. But as a woman, if you talk about being emotional, you're going to get darts thrown at you. And Mikel really talked about being emotional, and he showed maybe too much emotion. And this is a young team. And as I said, a manager builds a team in his image. Has Mikel's behavior helped how the team are handling those moments with his own behavior on the sideline?
I don't think he's changed, in my opinion. Whether he's picking up yellow cards or not, I don't think he's changed. Every time I see him, he's still a jack in a box on the side of the touchline. He's still out of his technical area, annoying every single other fan, pundit, media. And I love that, by the way. Even if he just stands a foot outside, how rattled people are about a man standing outside a box. I find it honestly utterly fascinating on like a more like mentality way of people, and how they go.
The saltiness is real, isn't it? It's real.
So real. It's just so. I just find it just funny, that the frustration and anger towards that. But I don't think he's. To me, I don't think he's any different. I think he's probably learning a lot himself. And again, we go back to the team and developing and getting better. Well, Mikel Arteta's doing the same. He's still a young manager. He's still in his first managerial job. We should never forget that. He's been at Arsenal for what, four and a half years now. It's plenty of time, of course, but it's still his first job in management. So he's going to develop. He's going to learn what his players don't need from him on the touchline. But I still see him kicking every ball. I still see him giving out instructions. Any opportunity, a break in play, the players run straight over to him, and he's giving them instructions every single time. He's so meticulous in his planning, in how he wants his team to play, the tactics he's drawing up. And I don't see that being any different. I see him frustrated at times. I think maybe Saturday he kept a bit cooler on the touchline than maybe I've seen him. I would say that's a fair comment to make. I think there was times where, for me as a fan, obviously we are biased, and I try and sometimes say I'm not biased. I'm looking at it clear, but I'm not. I'm completely blinkered. I'm biased. I am. When I watch Arsenal, it's whether consciously or subconsciously, it's there. But to me, the referee, I don't think helped us at times on Saturday. I thought he allowed the game to be slowed too much. He didn't try and speed the game up, which I think was frustrating. We could have, definitely had a couple of penalties. Maybe Kai Havertz could have been sent off. I don't know. But I felt like during those penalty incidents, Mikel Arteta was a little bit more calmer than maybe we've seen him, and maybe that showed in the performance that the players, as I said at the start, they kept calm, didn't they, throughout, and it always felt like they were always going to get the winner. So look, I don't think the animation's gone, but maybe just calm down the way he is reacting to referees' decisions, because maybe he sees that having a negative effect on his players. And again, it goes back to, right, does that give us an extra 1%? If it does, I need to stop doing that. And it wouldn't surprise me, Soph, knowing what he's like, that he's gone, analysed it, changed something, seen the development, and gone, you know what, actually, that gave us a little bit extra. Okay, I'll make that little step back in myself, because that's the kind of meticulous man he is.
Yeah, I agree. He's a 1 inch, 1% kind of guy. Yeah, anything to improve. Look, the goalkeeping position is a good example. Aubameyang is a great example. Ozil you can't have players like that in your club, in your dressing room, who think they're bigger than the club, or a superstar of the team. What I love is, Saka is evolving into a superstar off the pitch, no doubt. But it's all equal. It feels like this is a team of equals, and they're seen as equals. I think he was criticized for maybe having favorites. I think a teacher has favorites, managers have favorites. Maybe it's just a case of better players. But to
Fans
see
have
everyone.
favourites, don't they?
Yeah. But to see everyone rally around, before I get to a couple of questions for you, to see everyone rally around Aaron Ramsdale, who many think he played his last game for the Arsenal. He did resurrect, talk about resurrections. He redeemed himself in the second half with a couple of great saves. There are some people that think the Tony one wasn't going in. I think it was going all the way in. I don't
Definitely
think that. Yeah, I didn't like seeing him get all cocky again after. I understand the Brentford fans got under your skin singing "There's only one David Raya." Maybe a little bit more humble, but he did make a couple of really good saves. For you, did he redeem himself in the second half against Brentford?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, look, it doesn't surprise me with him. I think every time I've seen Aaron Ramsdale make a mistake, he still finds this ability to put it to the back of his mind. I think he was assured in the second half on the ball. I don't think he did as much. He certainly didn't have the ball at his feet as much as he did in the first half, as in the time he took to release the ball. I think he went long quite a bit in the second half. That save to Tony's effort. I mean, say what we like about Ivan Toney, that was unbelievable. I mean, if that went in, I mean, Jesus, one of the best goals we'll probably ever see in the Premier League. It was a really good save. But look, it's a shame. Look, I've always been pretty honest and open about the goalkeeping situation. It hasn't bothered me that he's brought in a goalkeeper of Raya's caliber. That's, bear in mind, he's here on a season loan at the moment. Haven't actually bought him yet. We will do. And he's only going to cost us about 25 million. I think that's an unbelievable bit of business. I think it's pretty clear that Raya was from day one the number one goalkeeper. He's better with his feet. He's more confident on the ball, and he's ultimately a better goalkeeper. That doesn't make Aaron Ramsdale a bad goalkeeper overnight, as I said many times. And I spoke to Mick Arteta about this at the start of the season because it was a question on everybody's mind. And although I saw it, I knew that, in my job, I have to ask that question anyway. And I asked him about the disruption, etc. He said, look, if one of our keepers gets injured and is out for the season, like Courtois did at Real Madrid, out with an ACL injury for the rest of the season, what are we going to do? And again, I go back to last season with Matt Turner as our reserve keeper. It all fell apart when Matt Turner came in because we couldn't play out for the back the same way because he didn't have the ability with his feet. But Aaron Ramsdale still does have the ability with his feet. He had a poor moment. He took too long on the ball. These things can happen. It's a mistake. It's a bad mistake. Don't get me wrong. It's a mistake I don't see David Raya making at the moment. So
yeah,
look,
you could, just to stay on the David Raya thing, because I listened to Tom's show last night and he said he hates the comments about how some fans are saying Raya doesn't make that Tony save. Now, I'm not saying that Raya doesn't make the second save, the tip over the bar, which I thought Harry Symeou, Archangel, if Harry Symeou said that they were standard saves, Harry's had too much what we Greeks drink, zivania. You could tell him that Soph said, stop drinking the zivania with your souvlaki, because there was nothing standard about those saves. And I get what Tom is saying in that I hate that comparison. But when you look at the height of Raya versus Ramsdale, it's okay. I think it's okay to question whether Raya would have stopped that Tony shot. And when people talk about positioning, this is where I'll defend Aaron, because that's where Mikel wants his goalkeeper to be, James. And that's what happened in the Porto game. This is why I didn't put all of the onus on Raya, because position-wise, that's where he wants them to be. And again, a couple of inches more, would he have saved that? So height is important in certain moments. What do you feel about all of that?
Yeah, look, I think this second save was standard. I think Harry's got a point there, to be fair. I really do. I actually think if you watch that second save, I think Ramsdale is probably a few feet too far over that side. So if you watch it back, I think he actually didn't get his positioning spot on. Great save, though. As regards, the first one, I thought the first one was a brilliant save. We're asking our goalkeepers to be that last line, that sweeper, to be available for the ball. So sometimes when a fast break happens, they're always backtracking. They always start outside their penalty area. That's natural. Remember, that ball came from deep to Tony, and he hit it first time. He didn't take a touch. So, the positioning wasn't there. Absolutely no problem at all. I think I don't like comparisons. Who would save this? Who wouldn't save that? You know, and I still struggle with people blaming David Raya for the Porto goal. Really, if you actually watch it from behind, it curled so far outside the post. I'm not really sure what he was supposed to do. Declan Rice was at fault for that. Gabriel Martinelli was at fault for that because he gave the ball away. Both of them gave the ball away in that last minute, and then Declan Rice didn't close down as much as he should have been. We can criticise, and that's okay. But I just think, what are we doing trying to like tit for tat? Oh, Ramsdale did this, Raya did this. I mean, come on, I just don't see that. I just don't see where it helps in any way. Look, you ultimately, the way we play football from the back and with goalkeepers playing out, we are going to see errors. That is going to happen. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Arteta spoke about that before and accepted that is part and parcel of it, because it's risky and it's dangerous. But okay, Ramsdale conceded that goal on the weekend. But if we look back this season, how many goals have we scored where the ball started from the back, where we've broken the press? Yeah, plenty. Big goals as well. I certainly remember the goal against Liverpool where it started, where we played out dangerously from the back, where in the past, 60,000 fans in the Emirates Stadium would have all been going down with cardiac arrests looking at Arsenal do that because we couldn't cope with that. Now we're watching it going, okay, we've got belief that we're going to be able to play it out from the back. And look, it's a way that we're playing that breeds success. I think we've just got to accept that sometimes mistakes happen. It's going to be more glorified when it's an Aaron Ramsdale situation because of what we've had all season with the goalkeepers. But it's going to happen sometimes. It's a shame. We don't want to see any of our players make a mistake. We don't want to see Ramsdale make a mistake in the only game that he come in. But did he redeem himself? Yeah, he made the saves that he needed to make, made some good saves, and we won the game. So that's all that matters.
Yeah. There's two things, and I'll get to a couple of questions, and then we'll get James out of here. Sorry?
That's a great point from Tom. Scapegoats instead of being critical, moving on, supporting. It's so true. I don't get it.
Tom Canton on Super Kev done a show on that. Hasn't aired yet, but it's all about scapegoats and why do we always need a scapegoat? Xhaka went from scapegoat to gladiator hero. Kai Havertz was the scapegoat earlier on this season. Mikel Arteta's been the scapegoat. Raya has been. Ramsdale has been. And hopefully we can really start moving away from that. The way someone asked me this question, and maybe it was Tom Sable, I don't know. But the way I've started to think about it since that question was asked is, how would you feel if Mikel did leave, right? How would you feel if, God forbid, Raya did get injured? Then you start thinking, that's interesting. Because, we kind of scapegoat players or poo-poo performances or come down hard on them if they make mistakes. And then you think to yourself, okay, imagine the rest of the season without David Raya. What does that look like?
Well, for me, it's not as good, but it's not too bad because the difference between Ramsdale and Raya is pretty minimal. I don't think it certainly won't affect the way we play. We'll play exactly the same way because we've got a goalkeeper equally adept at playing that way. We've got a goalkeeper who knows the back four just as well because it's pretty much the same back four as it was last season. So I don't see that having much of a difference. Will it have a little bit of a difference? It will, probably the first few games, because for a goalkeeper, it takes them a bit of time to get back into the flow, get used to game time, get used to the pressures surrounding it. And he will need a bit of time to feel more confident and comfortable back in the starting 11. But no, I don't think that's a big difference. And that's again why we should be happy that we've got two high quality goalkeepers who play the way the manager wants us to play. So I think actually we'll be in a good position. And yeah, I've just seen your note about Zinchenko. Yeah, he's probably becoming.
Yeah, I agree with Tom on that. Terrible. We've been gone from lauding Zinchenko and changing how we play strategically, this genius role. And then he makes a mistake. Since that mistake at Anfield last season, that he's been scapegoated since then, I think. And I find that exceptionally unfair considering the impact he has had and Gabriel Jesus has had. I saw it with Jesus a little bit. See, he has to come on. When he comes on, he needs 3 or 4. Yes, he's a player that needs 3 or 4 chances. But he hasn't become a bad player overnight. It's kind of insane how some fans kind of react that way. Really
so
is.
We live in a society where we've got zero patience. We expect the best of the best constantly because that's what we're now kind of given in life. If we need answers, we go onto Google, and you get everything straight away. We'd have to work hard for things, so we just expect things to just be given to us all the time, and that's a societal thing. So now our mentality is we're watching a game and we're going, "Oh God, he's made a mistake. He's rubbish now. He's nowhere near as good as this player." I don't know why that keeps on happening. I don't know why people don't just take a step back and go, "Come on, that's not how it works." But that's where we're living right now, and that's it.
Yeah, totally. And whatever someone believes, religious or political, that's not our business here on this show. But everyone should be able to have their own opinions. And Zinchenko for me has been really a great asset. He's shown that spirit and what he's been going through on a personal level and what his country have been going through to be able to play through football. Listen, adversity is tough. Things happen in our lives. It is not easy to pick up the pieces and keep going. And not only that, but he's under a spotlight and he's had to play football. And I'm sure there's many days where he hasn't wanted to play any football. So yeah, we support our players here. Quick fire stuff for you right now, James. How about this one from Aditya? There's only one question. Are we winning the league?
Yes, move on.
I like it. Very good. Let's see. There's one here. Question for James and Sophie. Who would you want us to sign in the summer? For me, it's Evan Ferguson, the absolute priority. He hasn't been playing that great, but I've been a big fan of Evan Ferguson. For sure. There's a player that's in Portugal that I can't pronounce the name of, and Tom will kill me. Yeah, you can help me there. Him, apparently, a lot of fans want him. He's the it guy now, James.
There's always one it guy. I think you were pretty close enough. I'm not even going to attempt it. I'll probably Paul Merson the hell out of it.
Is it Gorekas?
Gorekas? Something. Yeah, look. A young player, it will be a young player. I think I thought for a little bit of time that Ivan Toney might be that player that we could bring in. I'm not ruling it out, but he is 28 now. I still, regardless of his relationship with Arsenal, he says an Arsenal fan, and I still think he's I personally think he's a top striker. I think he's a real handful. He's very different to what we've got. But look, Evan Ferguson, yeah, all the talent in the world. I've interviewed him before, really confident guy, very young lad. I think Mikel Arteta will improve him immensely. Yeah, he's not having the best season, but then Brighton are having a really up and down season. You can't judge them this season at all. But yeah, it'd be a striker of something. It'd definitely be a striker. There's no doubt about it, because the way Arsenal work, as we well know now, with Edu and the planning that they're doing behind the scenes, they're constantly planning ahead and they're looking at different transfer windows. They have their plans in place. We've got to remind ourselves we're still well ahead of where they thought we were going to be. So they're going to be looking at things differently. There's going to be more money available because of the Champions League money. We're probably going to have to sell some players, which is absolutely fine, because we've got players now that are improving and holding their transfer value up. We've got British players that we can sell as well, which again will hold a high amount. I know people won't like it, but Smith Rowe's one that I think will move on in the summer. Eddie Nketiah will move on as well. Aaron Ramsdale might well go as well in the summer. But between those three, they're going to raise some serious cash and put us in a great place financially. So, yeah, look, I don't want to put a name on anyone at the moment, but a young striker sounds like it probably will be the way forward. I think let's see how Arsenal finish this season. But, if you look around the squad, go on, go on. Look around the squad. And obviously we've got Timber to come back, by the way, a £45 million player that, trust me, Mikel Arteta loves and really we're desperate to have him in the side. We've got him to come back that will feel like a new sign. If you look around the pitch and look at the squad, I would say it's not many areas where we're lacking a little bit of extra quality. So you look at that centre forward, maybe a centre midfielder, and maybe some backup for Saka on the right. To me, I don't think we need much more than that.
Yeah. we'll get no credit for winning the league. If we win the league, we will get no credit for doing it without a striker. Man City were lauded for it. They wanted to hang the picture in the Louvre, but not us, James. We'll get no credit. This is a wacky one from Seb. Should we sell Trossard? Oh, I did not see that coming, Seb.
I understand what. Look, he's not playing as much, so maybe. But no, we need depth. You need squad depth. He is, he's had phases this season. He's been a bit up and down this season, but he's been in and out of the side. So you can't expect a player that's 1 minute in, 1 minute out to have that level of consistency with his performance. But he's a great squad player. He offers so much difference actually on that left-hand side. He can come inside. He's very different to Martinelli. From my opinion, absolutely not keep him.
That is interesting. And now it's spawned a couple of other wacky ones, maybe. I don't know. But this one, because of the injury-prone stuff from Demsek, should we sell Zinni? We have Timber and Kivior to cover left-back. James.
Now, this one is more interesting. This one I would probably look at a little bit more, in my opinion. I just think maybe we're evolving as a side, and I'm not certain that Zinchenko is the future in that position. I think I'd be surprised if there's a big offer coming in for him, though. That's the only thing. But if there was, I think they would consider it, with the likes of Tomiyasu's just signed a big contract, Timbers to come back. Kivior's shown not only is he a great deputy at left back, actually he's a very strong left back, and that offers us quite a lot. Let's not forget we've got Kieran Tierney. I mean, he'll probably move on, but that's another player that's homegrown and will be worth a decent chunk of transfer value as well. I'm not sure. I'm not certain on Zinchenko, but I think out of all of them, maybe if someone came in, I think they would listen to an offer for Zinchenko.
Interesting. Very interesting. You should just pop in, Tom. I love it. The big signing of the summer for me. I love Tom's support. He's one of the best out there. And I also love how brave he is to talk about issues that a lot of people don't tackle as well. I'm very proud of him. The big signing of the summer for me is the number 6 now. Declan Rice is the future of our box-to-box midfield. Now we need a player as good at DM. But who is that? I honestly don't know. Agree with him?
Partially agree with him. Yeah, I'm still... The problem is Declan Rice is just so good. He's so good as an 8 and he's so good as a 6. So whether he plays in that holding role and we have a more attacking midfielder come in, I think that's okay. He's showing his strength going forward, that's for sure. But look, I wouldn't be jumping past Jorginho. He's resurrected, your word of the day, Sophie. He's resurrected his career, it feels like, and he's in such great form. He's got a great partnership alongside Rice, Thomas Partey coming back. But again, look, why not? There could be an opportunity, Tom, maybe if an offer comes in for Thomas Partey. Again, I think that would be a player that they will listen to. He's, 30, 31 now? I think if they can find an upgrade on him, then I think that's a possibility. I think there could be quite a bit of movement this summer. I think Arsenal could be one of those clubs to watch transfer-wise.
I like that. Okay, a couple more here. Let's do this one. Which Arsenal player has the highest ceiling? You like this question?
Oh, I love it. What a question.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Oh, do you know what? It's such a great position to be in because we're spoiled for choices. And this is what's so great. Look, Bukayo Saka's Bukayo Saka, and I hope he can get better. I'm intrigued to know whether he is at his kind of level now, but I think he could improve still. Declan Rice is getting better and better week in, week out for me. I think one of the centre-backs, Gabriel Saliba, I think they've got bigger ceilings than they've got right now. Oh, God, to say one, that's a really mean question.
The squaddies will help you here. We've got Martinelli, Saliba.
See,
there's a Saka up here.
Martinelli, I'm just not 100% set on Martinelli. If I'm being honest with you, I think he's great. He's a great part of that forward line, but I think there could be further down the line, there could be somebody else brought in who has a bigger impact than he has, in my opinion. I think he complements at the moment.
Whoa.
Got, and he offers that pace and pace out wide that we kind of need, that directness. But I also think there's probably upgrades to be had in that area. Or Wanyeri, there you go. That's a shout, Harvey.
There's Saliba, Odegaard, Wanyeri, and Martinelli. Quite a few for Martinelli. That to me is quite a controversial statement, James Green from Sky Sports, but I like it. I like that you have a different approach. But Esperota here agrees. His development has plateaued somewhat. Martinelli or Saliba for Tom, and a lot of shout outs for Odegaard. And I like that. This is Martinelli's home. The guy loves it here, just like Odegaard. Gabriel for Aditya. Martinelli is great. No other player frightens defenses like him. Stevie Nicol, the great Stevie Nicol of Liverpool, said there's two players he always looks at when we're going to play Liverpool. If they're on the team sheet, it worries him. Martinelli and Saka. Those are the two.
Yeah, but Martinelli used to and always does destroy Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp loves him as well every single time he plays against Liverpool. I just with Martinelli, it's just consistency. It's just, if you want to go to that next level, he's got to be more consistent. I think there's times he gets stuck on that left-hand side. At times it looks like he's running. He's a bit lost in his mind of where he wants to go. Other times he's assured, he's confident. He frightens defenses, as PW's just said. But I just want to see a bit more consistency from him. I'm a bit worried about him at the moment because I think it was Tom said he saw him in the mixo on crutches.
On crutches, yeah.
Great. And I know Arteta today, he's doing his usual where he's keeping quiet as he always does on team news. I mean, literally, you could have two legs amputated and Mick Arteta might say he's got a chance. So,
I love it.
You never ever know.
Brilliant stuff from James. We've gone 6 minutes into added time, and I'm sure he will be back soon. Maybe next time you come back, we should just do a straight up Q&A. I think that will be fun because some of these questions tonight have been the Trossard one threw me. Your take on Martinelli, I definitely see where you're coming from. I think he needs to look up more, needs to distribute the ball quicker. Agree with that. But if you've enjoyed tonight's show, moon the like button on the way out. Only do it once. It's free to come in the club. We hope you've enjoyed all of the great content today. Go back and take a look at the show with Jordan Jarrett, Brian from TalkSport Channel 4 News, Amy Lawrence and Magic Mike in the premiere episode of From Highbury to the Grove. And of course, one of your favourites here, James Green from Sky Sports. By the way, I'm on Sky Sports News tomorrow, James, at 7:30 in the morning. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, we love to see that. Are you previewing Porto by any chance?
That is a bit of a tongue twister, isn't it? Previewing Porto. Yes, I'm previewing Porto, and I'm really hoping that our European pedigree starts to shift gears against Porto. I really hope we come out, we have a massive performance. Before you go, you've got to give us your vibe on that game.
I was going to ask you. I was going to pass the buck. I was going to go back.
I fancy it. I really,
you fancy it.
I do.
I'm nervous, Sophie. If I'm honest with you,
Jordan said the same thing. Jordan's nervous too.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's just a carryover from recent European campaigns, and I've been there the last couple. I've been at the Emirates twice in a row now, where they've been knocked out in European competitions, which isn't great. So I don't know whether the benefit of Arsenal fans is for me not to be there, but I'm going to be there, and I don't want it to be nervy. I want us to score 3 in the first 20 minutes and then to sit back, relax, and go, oh my God, this team's different. But Porto are going to make it. I think they beat Benfica 5-0 recently. They're in red hot form. They're going to frustrate us. I hope there's a strong referee who clamps down on it. I think the players are going to be out out of the box quick. We've heard the messaging coming out from Arteta multiple times, not just today, but on the weekend. Erdegaard today as well, wanting fans to get behind them. I mean, if we can create an Emirates Stadium atmosphere like what we saw at home to Newcastle on the Saturday night a couple of weeks ago, then I think, yeah, we're on to a fast start. Be interesting to see who he plays instead of Martinelli on the left-hand side. Does he go Jesus? Does he go Trossard? I think Jorginho, Declan Rice probably start for me still, because we're seeing just a special Declan Rice going forward at the moment. I don't think he'd want to stop that momentum. I think we need physicality on the pitch. I would kind of, if I'm being honest, so far, I'd like to see Jesus start on the left just because of his physicality.
Yeah, Tom was asking about that earlier, actually. I think that's a good shout. I do. And Champions League experience. That is what we were missing in Porto. You know, people want to point the finger at Zinchenko. Sure, he's made mistakes. But in the Champions League, those two players, Kai Havertz, huge experience, James. Huge.
Yeah,
plus, some of our listeners don't want you to go to the game now.
I'm not surprised. I'm actually nearly talking myself out of it.
Yeah, I think stay home.
I think, look, Jesus, we missed him massively in Porto, and I just think their fullbacks had their way with Martinelli and Saka really in Porto, and I just feel like Jesus' physical presence, the fact he doesn't just stick out on the left-hand side, he'll move it. I think that will cause them some problems.
Yeah.
That's what I would do. I would go that way. That's maybe a bit harsh on Trossard, but, you know, let's see. But I'm excited, though. It's Champions League football. If we win, we get through to the quarterfinals. First time since 2010. Like, it's exciting. These are the games we want and we've been craving for so long. We're finally here, Gunners, and, you know, let's hope we're all celebrating together.
Agree. Totally agree with you. I fancy us to get 2 quick goals tomorrow. I think we're going to smack them in the mouth. Mike Tyson, old school heavyweight championship bout type of fight. And they will try the dark arts. They will try to pull the referee, and we've got to be super smart about that. Squaddies, I totally agree with all of you that have said that in chat. The referee plays a massive part in tomorrow's game. Okay, don't forget to go follow James. And by the way, when we do the Q&A, where is that comment from Tom will come? You and Tom doing the Q&A, and he will prove to you, and you could tell him actually that he has no friends to his face. He's looking forward to that one. Yeah. But please go give James a follow at James Green in UK. And James, as always, thank you for your time. It means the world to us. We really appreciate you. You're getting a lot of love from the squaddies in the chat. By the way, I love the hat back to front look today. Very chill, James, not in the suit and the tie, and, you know, very nice. Look like you're ready to go out there and do some coaching yourself.
That's the best thing about coming on. I can dress down. I can say what I like. It's fine. Honestly, Sophie, you do an amazing job, and we're all grateful to have people like you around. I know you're going to be amazing on Sky Sports tomorrow morning, and to all the Arsenal fans that follow you, honestly, I look at the chat. It's amazing. It's an incredible community, and it genuinely fills my heart seeing this and having that vibe and community all together. I just love it. You know, we're all part of the same brigade, and that's what it's all about. We support each other through the tough times, but we also make sure we damn well enjoy the good times that we're having right now. So, if you just keep doing you, because you're doing amazing.
I love you, mate. Thank you so much for the kind words. We feel the same way about you. And remember, it's been 3 shows today. Super Kev is listening to all of the shows. Give Super Kev all of your love. Keep those comments coming. He will be back at Squad Central soon. I can promise you that. He is making a phenomenal recovery. What else would you expect from the Arsenal legend? Okay, we will be back. I will let you know when we'll be back. Enjoy and digest these incredible 3 shows. Thanks again to James. And as Super Kev says, don't forget to tell your loved ones you love them. And tomorrow, Arsenal, we're all with you. At ease, squaddies, at ease. Good night.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
And in